I'd like to welcome everyone to the public hearing concerning proposed local law number blank of 2024, amending Article 1 of Chapter 316 of the Town of Webb Code, Lakes and Waterways. I'd like to call the hearing to order. Would you please read the public notice?
Whereas the town board wishes to consider adoption of proposed local law number blank of 2024, amendment to Article 1 of Chapter 316 of the Town Web Code entitled Lakes and Waterways, which amendment would provide updating docking restrictions and penalties for unlawfully docking boats or vessels on the town-owned docks on Old Forge Pond from June 15th to September 15th of each year. And whereas adoption of this legislation is authorized by the New York State Municipal Home Rule Law, Section 10, and whereas Municipal Home Rule, Section 20, requires the town board to hold a public hearing prior to the adoption of any local law. Now here, therefore, be it resolved that the town board shall hold a public hearing at the Town Visitor Information Center, 3140 State Route 28, beginning 7 p.m. on Tuesday, June 11th, 2024, to hear all interested parties and take any necessary action provided by law concerning proposed local law blank of 2024, amendments to Article 1, Chapter 316 of the Town Web Code, and be it further resolved that the town board further authorizes and directs the Webb Town Clerk to publish and post a notice of public hearing concerning proposed local law number blank of 2024, amendments to Article 1 of Chapter 316 of the Town of Web Code in the manner provided by law, and to make a copy of the proposed local law available for public inspection in the town clerk's office. Following adoption of this resolution until the public hearing is closed. Dated May 14th, 2024.
Thank you. All comments shall be directed to the town board and be relevant to the topic and will become part of record. When called upon, please state your name for the record, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Do I have anyone who'd like to talk? Yes.
Garrett Hoffman, your planning board chairman. I was curious, I read in a, where was it under? You guys had posted it that you were gonna change the days to Friday and Sunday now versus Thursday and Sunday. And one of the concerns I have is, most of the people that come into town are coming in on Friday afternoon and evening, and they're the ones dumping their boats in the lake for the weekend. Being Thursday and Sunday I thought was a great idea, but being Friday and Sunday, I don't think is a very good idea. And that was the only point I had to make with that, because of owning a motel business and knowing when people actually show up to do this stuff. They're pulling their boat out Saturday evening to go home Sunday morning. So that's the majority of them. But most people come in on Friday evening and try to put their boats in when they get here. So they're ready to roll on Saturday morning. Just thought that would add that to that point.
Tony, I can address that if you want.
Please do, thank you.
Hi, there was some confusion. I drafted this, and when I drafted it, there was a little bit of confusion when it was overnight Thursday or overnight Sunday night. So I tried to clarify that, and the way that this draft reads is it prohibits overnight docking from Thursday night to Friday morning.
It's Friday,
Okay,
Friday,
that makes total sense.
Thursday
Okay.
midnight.
Because originally we'd heard that Thursday was gonna be the day, and I'm like, okay, that makes total sense. I think that works phenomenally, because that stops people from leaving them there for the season.
Yeah, so it's midnight Friday till 6 a.m. Friday. So
Okay,
yeah,
perfect, thank you for clearing that up.
Yep.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Devin Daker, can the enforcement of that be at 6 in the morning or 5 in the morning as opposed to at midnight? I came down last year, 4th of July, got a ticket for parking at like 12:05. I was just here, and then I got in the boat and came home at 1 in the morning. I didn't park overnight, but it was in the time frame, which was kind of frustrating considering that it wasn't there overnight and had to pay the ticket. Just a thought.
Thank you. Yes.
David Winslow.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, docking came up and stuff, and I'd asked the question of, are you able to enforce times on state property, on the lakefront on the Pied Piper side? And I got a scornful scowl saying that it was town-owned property on that side. So I was kinda on my heels and stuff, and the person sitting in front of me was the previous town supervisor. Also, he was also on the Hudson Black River Regulating District, board. And he didn't have a comment, cause he wasn't sure of the ownership of the property. So I had to do my homework on this, and I went to at the Town Historical Society said it was state-owned property. I went to the town clerk, we couldn't come up with, tax ID numbers or anything of ownership of the property on the lakefront there. So I went to, Herkimer County, and I traced down the town, the deeds for the property and the survey maps of the property. And that shows that it's state-owned property. So my next question was, to the Hudson Black River Regulating District, and they, they didn't have any records of owning the property. They sent me to the state archives, I called the state archives down in Albany. They referred me to the State Land Bureau Management. And they had kept the records before the counties did. And stuff, so. When I got the documents and of papers that show that it's, state-owned property. And where there was a glitch, one of the county map guys, about 20 years ago, redid property lines. And I got the different maps here that shows the deleting of the lines, because there was no parcel ID numbers for the state properties. Which, this map here was, shows this, it was 1885, the state, this is the town park area, town area. 1885, the state bought 9 acres of land for $30,000. In 1936, they sold, about 6 acres of it to the town, 4 different parcels. Each town piece has a different parcel ID. The only one that, on the state property that has a parcel ID is the triangle part over here by the police station. And that's, identified with the state DOT. The tax mapping department in Herkimer County needs to go back and review the maps here and identify that the state property. I have copies made and stuff, and I'll get them to you, because I've been in contact with the town assessor, and an example is, there's a tax ID number for the dam up in Sixth Lake, and that's the town of Inlet. Down here, there's no tax ID for the dam property down here. Somewhere there was a glitch since 1936 of identifying the properties.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yes,
I can clarify, something in our town master plan actually states out, it shows, it actually has each piece of land and it shows what it is designated as. If you look in our master plan, it actually does do that. It
Thank
shows
you.
each parcel of land, parking, dock space, all that. It shows like that, and it's broken into each color on a color code chart, all right?
thank you. Anyone else? All right, having heard all comments from those wishing to speak on this topic.
I'll speak. Johnny Webster, I'm fairly new here, but I will agree with Mr. Baker over there and the gentleman in the front. I mean, the clarification on when you're gonna citation someone, when they can dock their boat, it kind of needs to, it's not as clear to you as it is to everyone else, right? I don't understand that. And it would be confusing to visitors that come, like, tourists. They don't know the laws quite like whether it's Thursday or Friday night, or how you're gonna dock through Sunday or whatever. So.
Thank you. Yes,
Yes, I have something to say. Dan Rivet.
thank you, John.
John back there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Dan Rivet. I served as councilman from 1988 until 2008. The reason we did the docking, the limited docking, was because people that lived on the lakes came to the town board and said, look, people are parking their boats all the time. We come down to go shopping, have a meal, whatever, we have no place to park. And that's the reason we did it, and that's why we did, it wasn't as restrictive as this originally, but that's just some of the history, why it was done. And it really got out of control, boats were sinking over there because they weren't maintained, but I just wanted to put that out there so that people understood why that law was in place.
Thank you. Yes,
Heather Hoffman. I'm gonna piggyback on the enforcement. Midnight to 6 a.m. is kind of a broad range, and like he said, if somebody came into town early at 5 o'clock in the morning because they're fishing and they wanna go get coffee, they can't park their boat at 5 in the morning because it's before 6. So the enforcement, like, no overnight means if it's there at midnight and there at 6 a.m., that's overnight. But if they're there for an hour, how do you enforce that? Like, how do you make that clear for people? Can they not be there for that hour? Or is it an all-night thing? Is
I
it
think
for
what-
those 6
yeah.
hours? You know, that's, for me, is what's really unclear in the enforcement part of it.
Thank
And
you.
if it's unclear to a townsperson, it's gonna be unclear to a tourist, certainly. Which derives business sentiment the other way. You know, I don't know, I can't go in and get a gallon of gas or a cup of coffee, so I'm not gonna park here. Does that business lose, the town lose, yeah.
thank you. Yes,
Just backing up the story of your timing of when the ticket, I guess. I had neighbors, they're from Pennsylvania, they come up, work their property, the snowmobile and stuff. They come up, do their boating. They came down in the morning, like she said, and went into town to have breakfast. They got back to their boat and they had a ticket on their boat. So that's disheartening to people when they end up with that situation, so.
thank you. Anyone else? Are you sure? Okay. Having heard all comments from those wishing to speak on this topic, would someone like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. I'd like to welcome everybody to a public hearing concerning proposed Town of Webb, Old Forge Sewer District Main Collection System Replacement Project. I'd like to call the public hearing to order. Will the clerk please read the notice of public hearing?
Please take notice, the town board will be holding a public hearing pursuant to section 202-B of the New York Town Law at the Webb Town Hall, 3140 New York 28 Old Forge, New York, at 7 p.m. on July 11th, 2024, to hear all persons interested in the proposed Old Forge Sewer District Sewer Main Collection System Replacement Project, as described below, and to take such other and further action as may be required or authorized by law. The proposed improvements will include the replacement, reconstruction, and repair of the Old Forge Sewer District Sewer Main Collection System and any necessary related preliminary and/or incidental improvements in the project. The estimated cost of the project is $5,569,000. The location of the project is throughout the Old Forge Sewer District. Please take further notice that all persons interested in this subject will be heard at this time. Nancy T. Russell.
Thank you. All comments shall be directed to the board and be relevant to the topic and become part of the record. When called upon, please state your name for the record and please keep your comments to 3 minutes. Do I have anyone who'd like to speak? Yes.
Dan Rudd. Where is the sewer district going to get the money to fund this? There's only, I don't know how many hookups there are in the sewer district, but it doesn't take in the whole town of Webb. It only takes in basically the village of Old Forge. And obviously, the people, the taxpayers that are paying for the Old Forge Sewer District cannot afford $5.5 million. I understand how necessary it is to have, but do you have grants lined up, or what do you have to pay for this?
Thank you. Do I have any other comments?
How much do you have in grants?
It's not a question and answer session, it's a listening to the public, thank you.
That's a valid question.
Any other comments?
Well, I gotta piggyback on him.
Okay.
Johnny Webster, I mean, it's a discussion, isn't it?
It's a public hearing where we listen to the public.
So there's no grant from the state or the federal government? I'm done.
Amelia Yoder, before you can propose for a grant, you have to have a funding plan in place before you can ask the state or federal government for money. So in order to do that, you have to have a full proposal by an engineer and from the town of Webb. So it's not that the grant funding probably isn't there, it's just that it has to be documented in full before you can ask the state for large sums of money. So I hope that gives you some insight on the topic at hand, but
So the same question before her, then, do we have those things set in place?
we don't have an approval to have it go on right now,
So
so,
why can't we?
because it's a public hearing. So it's kind of just discuss it, right? So, we're hearing about the topic at hand, but until we fully discuss it as a town and pass it or don't pass it, we can't ask the state or federal government for funding yet.
Anyone else? Yes.
I'd like to know specifically how you're going to pay for this. I mean, it's a simple question. I understand it's necessary and behind the project and everything else, but how are you gonna pay for it? I don't live in the sewer district, so it's not gonna affect me, but how about these other people that are hooked into the sewer, become indebted for $5.5 million? I mean, you've gotta have some other way to pay for it. You can't charge them sewer taxes of tens of thousands of dollars just to pay interest on this thing if you borrow the money. Simple question.
That's the step in the process here, that's what we're trying to get to. You know,
I
That's
can't
the
hear
step
you.
in the process towards that, is that we're trying to pursue the funding to pay for this.
I see,
In order
okay.
to do that, we have to have the public hearing and all that.
You need to have proposals and everything moving forward.
And if you can't come up with the money, make it affordable for people that live within the sewer district, what are you gonna do? It's a necessary project, I'm not against it, it's just a question.
It's a huge concern, is what you're saying.
Say again, Tom?
It's a concern, your
Yeah,
concern
that's
is
my
very
concern.
real, yeah.
That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Brian Bamberger, have you engaged an engineer for this already?
Yes, we have an
Yes.
Have they, how much have they gone forward with it as far as the preliminary design? Have they laid out, where they're gonna go with it? This is the main collector system only, right? This is not the side streets and like that,
Side streets, six areas of concern
okay?
within the town of Webb.
And how far is the engineer proceeded with it? Not far, okay.
We're shovel ready.
Okay, do you have the plans?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can they be looked at by anyone, or is,
Yes, they're in my office.
okay?
Absolutely.
They're the ones that gave you the $5.5 million.
Pardon me?
They're the ones that put the $5.5 million estimate out there?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
on the project, yes. Anyone else? Thank you. Having heard all comments from those wishing to speak on the topic, would someone like to make a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Kyle, second?
I'll second it.
Ben? All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Now I'd like to welcome everybody to the Town of Webb regular meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank everybody for coming. Please sign in the attendance sheet and please turn off your cell phones. The next regular meeting will be on July 9th at 7 p.m. July audit of claims meeting will be held the first Monday, July 1st at 5:30 p.m. Executive session may occur this evening if deemed necessary. We have some correspondence. The board received an email from Tom Dixon with his concerns about the amendments to local law number blank of 2024, explaining how and why we got to this point. He does not believe he believes the lakefront has never looked better and it's more visitor friendly. Making the changes is not in the best interest of the town. Thank you, Tom. The board received a letter of retirement from Chuck Hanford effective 6/21/24. Thank you, Chuck, for your many years of service for the DPW. The board received a letter of retirement from Chief Ron Johnson effective June 22nd, 2024, after 9.5 years of service. I thank Chief Johnson very much for all he's given to our town. I gave the board an email about the Catholic Church would like to have a service on the lakefront, July 14th. And this evening, we have Father Kornmeyer here to speak to the board about holding a mass on the lakefront. Father,
All right,
thank you for coming.
thanks for putting us on the agenda. It would be open to the public. It would be a mass. People would bring their own chairs. We would utilize, I think you have concerts down there in the summer, and I think it's the weekend of the boat show, I believe. It would take about an hour. We would expect about maybe 100, 150 people. And that's about it. I'll answer any questions.
Mass on the lawn?
I would do the mass under the band shell, and people would sit out there in the chairs, weather permitting.
What time's the mass?
9:30
On
Sunday.
Sunday.
Yeah, we got the tent is set up for the boat show, so you have
I
to
guess I'm not involved.
figure that out.
Maybe. It's still there.
The tent is up for the boat show Saturday, so maybe it stays or comes down, but I don't know how it works in with the band show.
I take it down Sunday, Saturday night. Or I can leave it up for your mass.
Well, it'd be nice to have it left up.
If the band shell will open, because we don't utilize the band shell, so I don't know how close it goes to the band shell.
Oh, well, I can make it.
Yeah.
From the
I could leave, the big tent is separate from the band shell. I can set it up so
We'll work it out,
it works out.
okay.
That'd be great.
Sound good then?
Well, the one thing is, Dave, isn't there a concert that night, Sunday night?
Well, I
I'm
can take
assuming.
down,
What?
Is there a concert that night?
Yes, it would be.
So is that tent gonna be a problem for that?
mass
We
is,
got a lot of stuff going on all of a sudden here on that lakefront on Saturday and Sunday, so we might wanna think about what we're doing.
The band shell will be set up,
Correct.
so he can't use the band
We
shell.
take it down in the afternoon or morning of Sunday anyway, so.
I try to get there Saturday night, but it's,
I got a
It'll be
question.
down before the concert on the waterfront Sunday
Yes.
night.
That's what I'm saying, is it might have to be down anyways before
Sunday
Sunday.
night.
After Sunday mass, 9:30, it goes down, right?
yeah, right. Yeah.
I'd just like to, do we have a policy on any of that? I'd just like to be fair to and respectful to all religious gatherings and such. I mean, I'm just, is there anything in the, on
To
town
date,
property?
we've never allowed it, to date.
And that's weddings.
I'm not
Weddings
offensive,
or
I'm just,
just that's to
Same thing, I'm
date.
just telling you in the past, Mike, you were on the board. But other than that, no.
but there's nothing actually in a handbook or
No.
anything in our
Nope.
town of Webb thing.
No,
I'm not.
it would just be a nod from the board.
So do you want it or not?
Do you want it? Let him have their, yep.
I don't see an issue, just
All
like
right.
I said, if as long as the tent and all that stuff can get worked out so that. it's-
Father, as long as you can work out your arrangements with, the boat rendezvous, that would be
All right, I appreciate
perfect.
that.
Bless them with good weather.
I hope so.
Yes.
I hope so. I think it would be good for the town. I don't, it would bring people in.
Yes.
They'll probably spend money somewhere else. So, I appreciate that. And
Thank
it's open
you.
to the public. I
Perfect.
mean, it's a Catholic mass, but anybody can go to it. So,
Thank you.
all right, thank you very
Appreciate
much.
it.
Okay.
Is Don here?
Is Don here? Don Hale?
Don Hale?
He's coming.
So we're gonna go a little off agenda because Don's waiting to talk to everybody. Don, took a job on with Herkimer County.
I'm outstanding
And-
room only. Somebody can sign that.
Herkimer County has a bed tax for us, so Don's gonna talk about it.
We don't know if we really have a bed tax yet, but, they've been trying to put a bed tax through for a long time. And it went through committee the other day. I wasn't on the committee, but, I took over for Pat Russell, by the way. If anybody's wondering why I'm standing here. Pat has moved on to a better position in the county, so I'm filling a seat for a while. With that being said, so the bed tax has reared it's always been on their minds. And at this point in time, they actually made it through committee, and it will come up for a vote tomorrow night. Now, the details on it, there aren't a lot of details. We don't know if we're getting any money back. It may go into the general fund. My argument is that we would try to, get a portion of that back. I know you guys would like it all back, but I'm not sure the county is gonna let us do that. But, anyways, I'm just trying to bring you up to speed on it. But what this is supposed to also do is not just chastise the hotels, but it's supposed to embrace the Airbnbs and short-term rental at the same time. Once again, a lot of pieces are in flux at this point in time, so I guess we'll wait to see what's gonna go on. But I'm only one vote out of 17, so I'm against it. But at the same token, they do have valid arguments, but I'm just trying to bring you up to speed that this might be coming. I don't believe it's gonna happen. If it does get passed, I don't think it's gonna be implemented for a while, because I don't think all the i's are dotted and all the t's are crossed. Any questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This is separate from the state thing that went down the other day?
Well, it is separate.
Okay.
No, the state thing, that hasn't made it through either. That made it through committee. Actually, the legislature actually put that through, downstate. And now they're waiting for her to say yay or nay. She may veto it. She may have some changes. She may do whatever she wants to do with it. So we'll have to wait on that too. But that's a different thing. That could actually, because we get a lot of tax revenue, sales tax, because we get a larger portion of that. If that goes through, that potentially could bring, because it's everything's included in that. Because we're a higher percentage, and if that's enough money coming in, we could see a significant amount of money come into the town.
Well, if
in
you
sales
read their
tax.
propaganda, it says the money's supposed to go to fund emergency services.
Well, that's part of it, yeah. That's really the direction they were going when they led with that. Because they want to be able to take care of emergency services a little bit better.
They're trying to get sales tax for all the bed and breakfasts and. or the
Exactly.
Short-term rentals. and all that
VRBOs,
stuff.
that kind of
So
stuff.
how much of Herkimer County is tourism besides Old Forge?
Well, we've got almost 80% of the beds.
Up
So,
here?
Yeah. So, I mean,
So this town with bed tax is gonna put on the most, like, they're gonna have to take the hit for the rest of the county, seems like.
we are gonna pay, we're gonna carry the water. There's no doubt about it.
How's that fair to us?
Well, that's why we're voting against.
You do that for most things in this
I agree
town.
with you, I agree with you.
But
I
the,
can see why the other 16 would vote, because it would benefit their counties,
exactly.
or their areas in the,
But there's also, they're trying to be able to make better deals moving forward as far as, we've got this huge construction project that's gonna happen someday. Everybody's in denial, but it's gonna happen. Main Street, it's gonna happen. We get ahead of it, or we wait until it fails, and then we're gonna have to do it. Either way, you're gonna have to do it. So I actually brought that up. I said, your golden goose could actually be laying less golden eggs for a couple of years. And after that point, we're gonna need to come back online, and I think we should come back as a reimagined Old Forge. I think Main Street should be really something to look at after that. Power lines underground, nice sidewalks, nice road, the whole bit, check all the boxes on that. With that being said, that conversation I'm having with the other people at the county, pretty open to it. They don't think it's a bad idea. They see it, so we could have some good wiggle room after that big event, that construction project. And hopefully they'll be putting in with it. No promises, this is what we're working on. Go ahead.
Dan Rippon again.
Hey, Dan.
Little history of bed tax. Probably 20 years ago or so, bed tax was proposed for Herkimer County.
Right.
What was collected within the town of Webb would stay in the town of Webb. This is what the original deal was, because we have most of the rooms, we pay 38% of the county real estate taxes, but anyway, let's back to
Understood.
the, let's
No,
go
I'm
back
familiar
to
with that.
bed taxes. Is there any possibility we would get to keep what we collect in the town of Webb bed tax? Because we have to provide all these services for people to stay
Well,
here.
that
That's the
conversation-
reason for the bed tax.
That conversation did come up at one point, and,
Where'd it go?
no, well, they said, well, we'll give you, what if we give you it all back? So why do we want it? Why would you do it then? If you're just gonna give it back, why do you need it? What's the
Yeah.
point? So if they say they're gonna give it all back, Dan,
They did say they're gonna give it back to
no,
us.
but if they did,
If.
you know, at one point they did, this was a conversation,
Yeah.
that happened years ago, but what's the point? And I think, you're not gonna get it all back, because what's the point of having it? Right, and then they can change it anyways later on. Then another group of legislators come in and they can actually change it. So that would be a deal, that would not be a forever deal.
Is the apportionment of the bed tax?
Well, we'd like to, that's what we're working on, we're trying to get a
Is
portion
that
of
gonna
that.
be based on assessed values of the community?
Well,
What's gonna be the formula?
yeah, that's a very good question,
John,
yes.
my understanding of the bed taxes is that they have to be allocated in certain ways, that there is only a certain amount of ways that a bed tax can be proposed and spent. And I feel like it has a tourism lean, or like a Main Street lean.
I agree.
Right, no, I think that is,
Well, that was a good question, and I did check into that just recently. And I said, and they actually did look into it, and they said, no, that's not actually the case. Legally, they can use it, they can put it right in their general fund if they want. Not saying that they're gonna do that, but that's, so there's no, that doesn't hold any water saying that it has to go into tourism. Now, that's where it would make sense to put it there, because then it would actually fund the program. But that's what I would try to lean on.
So if the state does their thing and approves that one, and Herkimer County does their thing and does that one, there could be two taxes
Potentially.
on,
Well, actually, no, wait, back up.
on VRBOs I'm talking about.
The state is a sales tax. The counties is a bed tax. What they're doing is they're trying to get the VRBOs, Airbnbs, they're trying to get them away from being under the radar and not paying any sales tax at all. And realistically, that's not a bad thing. Wait, to the back.
Don, how are you?
Good,
Did you say
yourself?
a law may be passed tomorrow night with not a lot of detail out there already? Is that a comment?
There's a lot, that's why I don't think it's gonna come front and center. I don't think you're gonna see it right away, because I think they've got some work to do on how they're gonna allocate, what they're gonna do with the money, and how much money there's gonna be generated.
You vote tomorrow night though, right?
There is a vote
They're voting
tomorrow
tomorrow night on the law. The
There
law will
is.
be passed tomorrow night, probably.
No,
I thought that's what I heard.
the resolution will be passed to go
The
forward with the
resolution.
bed tax.
Right.
Okay,
It
that's
just made it through committee.
Okay.
Garrett Hoffman, Planning Board Chair, Town of Webb. Something that I think that the county ought to keep in mind is with the water park now going for an IDA loan of $38.5 million for economic expansion of the park. State's already been, people have already complained about traffic and such through town, and I think it's gonna increase the traffic through town. The county ought to wait and look and see what the state's gonna do, whether they're gonna try to widen Route 28, because they could possibly do that. There's expansion room for that through there. They could also stop parking along the sides and put a third lane down the center. There's a lot of things that the state can do, and I think they're gonna look at that really hard as that kind of a project comes forward in that size for our town, and it's gonna be a very big increase. I think it could be a very big increase of traffic, and we ought to keep an eye on what they're gonna do to do a 28 before the county year. We, and as a town, try to beautify that and make sure we're not gonna do something and they're gonna tear it out a year later.
Well, good point. The I believe the majority of that is IDA is actually the one that actually plays that game. With there's gonna be a lot of planning going on. They're just filing for trying to get a grant.
Yeah, I realize that.
So there's a lot of moving pieces. There's probably not a lot of stuff. There's just some hard data, what they wanna do, but is that gonna be funded and that's gonna be approved and that's gonna move forward? Is it gonna be engineering done? Probably not this time. But point taken, yeah, we would like to stay ahead of it if we could.
I mean, as your planning board chair, I would love to see an improvement. I think we should concentrate on improving our town and making it look keep the beautification, keep the look and feel and charm of the town, and try to maintain that throughout. That's the whole reason for our planning boards and reasons that we're doing what we're doing, is to try to keep the town looking and feeling like it is, so we're not any town USA. And I think that's a big thing.
No, I totally agree with that. I mean, we could use a little spruce up, and we're gonna be doing a lot of heavy construction on Main Street, and now's the time to do it, because if we don't do it now, it'll never happen. So, I wanna work all the channels I can to make that happen. Yes, sir.
Hey Don, Brad Pearson.
Hey, Brad.
For the unenlightened amongst us, at least me, that aren't familiar with bed tax as jargon, is that every bed in the town or just rental beds?
It's actually gonna be hotel beds, all right?
Airbnbs?
Airbnbs and VRBOs. And it could be, I'm not sure if that's going to include short-term rental or not at this point.
Not your private bed. It's not a tax.
No, it's not gonna be that draconian.
It's a usage tax.
Are campgrounds in that?
No, I don't believe so, but I can check on that.
Not even the cabins? Should be.
Anything else? Come on, you gotta have somehow. What do you guys got?
Well, I'd like to know when they think they're gonna do this, because I can tell, most of the people that have motels and whatnot here in town have probably already told the people what the cost is, or the reservations that they have. So if this thing comes along soon, then the change, there's gonna
Don't
be a
shoot the
change in
messenger,
price.
but I don't believe it's gonna be this season. So I don't think that's gonna be the issue.
Yeah, and most times you go to places as a flat rate.
Excuse me?
You would advertise $150.
They're looking at 5%.
And all of a sudden it's $170 a night for the taxes.
It's basically $100 room's gonna be $5. Mr. Russell, anything?
Thanks, Don. I took a job with the county attorney's office and finally using my degree. One of the things for tomorrow night is they are gonna do the resolution to go forward with a bed tax. Within that resolution as of today, there's nothing in there that says what it will be used for. It's just gonna be a generic resolution, like he said. And at this point, we're going to the general fund. And looking at numbers, there's not a lot of money there. I looked at the numbers. Well, what the county is counting on is this short-term rental law that hopefully the governor will, sign it, because it's gonna not only add sales tax in our coffers here, but across the state. But then we're allowed to be able to put the bed tax on those short-term rentals. We haven't been allowed to do that before. So that's been part of the process of why the county legislature is going forward, because they feel that this legislation is going to be signed. So,
I firmly believe that there's more money on that side than there is on Main Street and beds.
there is, I agree with that. But there will be a local law after that, and that's, I told them before, I said, if you want me to bring 2 or 3 buckloads of people down there, I'd be glad to do that, because I know you'd come. I've not supported it for all the time, and it's just, we're at the point now where we have 16 legislators who will support it.
Comments, concerns?
Thank you.
All right, I'm out of here.
Anyone else? All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Don. Thanks,
You guys need
Pat.
anything else? All good?
Appreciate it.
Enjoy your evening. Thank you.
Don,
You too.
boat patrol's always been a concern, since you're in the county now.
We're not discussing that this evening. Thank you.
Well, I just.
I know, we have,
It's duly noted.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you all, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don.
All right, the board held a public hearing this evening. What's the pleasure of the board, to adopt or to not adopt local law number blank of 2024,
It will be number one, just so you know,
number one,
if it's passed.
amending Article 1 of Chapter 316 of the Town of Webb, Lakes and Waterways? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion to adopt.
Kyle? Second? I'll second it. All right, board discussion, let's go.
After hearing comments and whatnot this evening, and I haven't really grasped everything here, I'm not ready to vote on this.
Okay?
I will absolutely second that, unfortunately.
You
Yeah,
You said that? Is it
Yeah,
Tommy?
just-
Okay.
I think
Alright.
there's too much gray area, I think there's too much still to be talked about, too many enforcement concerns and, yeah, just to go right from hearing to that is.
Kyle,
That's fine,
back to the drawing board?
back to the drawing board.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Table it.
So you want to, are you trying to table this?
Do you want to table it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I gotta
compile
rescind my-
changes.
I rescind my motion to adopt.
Thank you.
Do I rescind my second?
Okay, so Kyle rescinded. Who's gonna give the motion to table?
I'll make a motion to table it.
I'll second it.
Was that Ben?
Tom.
Sorry, Tommy.
Thank you.
Table, okay.
Okay. Do we need to do anything?
How's that,
Roll call vote.
You don't need roll call, just a
All in
voice vote's
favor.
fine.
All in favor?
All in favor to table it?
Yep, table it.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
So one
Yeah,
opposed.
yeah, one
Okay.
opposed, you got it.
Now, is that something that,
Bonnie, when are you going to, so you're tabling it,
Yeah.
when are you going to revisit it? What's your timeline?
so that's where I was going, we have the Monday meeting and the Tuesday meeting, so like if it's obviously past the time of the law, would the law go into place starting at that time if we did vote to go for it?
Well, so from this point on, it's over with for this year.
Correct.
We're not
Oh,
doing
really?
it. We're not
No.
doing it this year.
Well,
That's up to the board. You have
Right,
the,
but to do it mid-season is gonna be chaos. So, going forward, we can revisit it next month and then plan ahead for next season. Cause there's no sense in trying to change it halfway through the summer. July, we're gonna be meeting second week of July, we're already a month into the current law. And then to revisit it in August, we're already at the tail end of the season anyway. So this'll give us more time to go over it, fine tune it, hammer it out, and come up with the solution for next summer. To be voted on, I would have to say, in the middle of winter.
yeah, I think it's more a practical concern than a legal concern. You have the authority to word the text and to provide for its effective date whenever you want, but that's
Right.
if that's your practical concern, that's certainly within your authority, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But to make any changes in a law, you have to get rid of it and start over.
You can amend it as long as you have a public hearing if it's a substantial amendment. If you change it in any substantial way, you can just call for another public hearing. You could discuss it at your next meeting, decide a form you like, and then announce a public hearing for the month after.
Right, okay.
Okay, thank you. Proposed Town of Webb Old Forge Sewer District Sewer Main Collection System Replacement Project. The board held a public hearing this evening. Do I have a motion authorizing the assurance of up to $5,569,000 in serial bonds of the town of Webb to pay the cost of the sewer main collection replacement project of the Old Forge Sewer District and authorizing the assurance of up to $5,569,000 in bond anticipation notes of the town of Webb for the same purpose and authorizing the project pursuant to town law 202B. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Mike, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Ben, board discussion, please.
Yes. So the understanding of this, now that we can talk, right?
Yes, we can talk.
What happened, Dan, you ask a lot of good questions, but by rights, we're not supposed to say anything for a public hearing. This, we have to put this in place so that we can ask for money to do this. If we don't get this money, we don't have the money, so we can't get it done.
Okay, that's what I wanted to understand.
Yeah, if we don't have
Can't
this,
do
we
this
can't even
without
ask for it.
The sewer district does not have the money, doesn't even have $1 million to put into this, much less 5 million, so.
And that's part of the reason, that's why we got that income survey done, that's, I think, moving right now, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
very
that's-
close to being done.
That's a huge part of this, to kind of update our sewer district, like, household median income that will allow us to get these grants, because if we're showing that 83,000 per household, then we're not gonna get the money for that. Among other things too, with like the pro-housing stuff that I think we're all working on too, moving forward, that will help with that too, to get these grants.
Any other board discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilman Gardner?
Lindsay.
Oh, my goodness.
I'll call Kurt if you want.
Wow, it says
Wow, it says Gardner all the way through. Oh, Kyle, I am so sorry.
It's okay.
It does say Gardner over there.
It says all the way through.
It says
Councilman
green,
Lindsay.
Aye.
Oh, my God, I was
That's fine.
taking drugs that day evidently. Councilman Hannah.
Aye.
Councilman Greco.
Aye.
Councilman
The whole
Roth.
thing, green, Barb's
Aye.
in there too.
Hey, I had a bad day.
We got
Supervisor
Barb there,
Baker.
Aye.
Welcome back.
Holy moly. 5 ayes. It was a rough one, but we had 5.
The police car surplus, the 2015 Ford Tahoe, right out there, is no longer needed at the police department. The town board can sell it on Auctions International or transfer it to another department, either dog control or buildings for the cleaner. Would the board do I have a motion to declare the 2015 Tahoe surplus?
It's not a Tahoe.
What is it?
It's
They
a
told me-
Chevy Tahoe. It's a Chevy Tahoe.
Oh, Chevy.
Oh, yeah, it's not
It's a Tahoe.
Right, it's not a Ford.
Oh, Chevy Tahoe.
They told me it was a Ford Expedition, so you can blame them across the street.
Trevor's been driving
That I don't know.
That's Trevor's, right? That one Trevor drove
Yep.
forever. Well, not his, I guess.
Yes.
Do we have a motion
So I'll
to
make a
declare?
motion to
Oh,
declare
thank you.
the-
Mike, second?
Chevy Tahoe.
What are you
I'll
doing with
second.
it, though?
We'll
What are you
declare
gonna-
it
For surplus.
afterwards. Surplus, and then
Don't you have to declare it
Just
surplus
have
before you do
discussion,
anything
right?
with it?
Okay.
second.
I'll second.
Kyle, now discussion. What do you guys want to do with it?
Kyle is the second one?
Yep.
Okay.
Kind of shapes it in.
It'd be great for dog control, but we need a dog control officer.
It'd be great if we had a little bit cleaner. I'd be more apt to.
Anyone interested, let us know.
Go to the cleaners. Yeah. And I'll have them have a vehicle to go around to each building instead of using their own.
I know, they're throwing garbage in the back of their own vehicles right now. They're paying.
Probably wouldn't get that much for it.
No, I don't think so. There's a lot wrong with it. I mean, there's a lot of rust on it.
Is there a lot wrong mechanically though?
No, there's a lot of rust on it.
Just the rust.
Spring fire hoses.
I'd
Give them to the
like
cleaners.
Yeah, I'd like to see it go to the cleaners.
If they're using their own vehicles.
They are.
right?
Cleaner wins.
Cleaner wins, winner, winner.
All in favor?
All in favor? Opposed? Part-time publicity clerk. Need a motion to appoint Jeannie Lupo, part-time publicity clerk, effective May 29th, 2024, with a 6-month probation. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Kyle, second.
I'll second it.
Ben, any board discussion?
Welcome to the team.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Roll call vote, please.
Let's try this again. Councilman Lindsay?
Aye.
Councilman Hannah?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes.
BCA agreement, a motion to authorize the supervisor to sign the amendment to owner-engineer agreement from BCA for additional services, Gildebrandt grant, CFA applications, WQIP for 2019 to 2021 and 2022, and the WIA applications for 2022, 23, award in 23, EFEC loan closing documents, etc. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Kyle, second.
I'll second it.
Ben, board discussion.
Could you explain it a little bit?
Yep, it's the work Corey's doing on the plant right now to finish the plant. It is, can I see that one?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yes, yeah,
We've had-
everyone has a copy. Thank you. So it's the funding applications that are going through for Senator Gildebrandt, Congresswoman Stefanik, CFA applications, WIA applications, WQIP applications, wastewater treatment plant UV, and phase 2.
So this is everything that Corey's doing, and then also going after more funding.
More funding, correct.
Okay. Right, okay, got it.
What is that, the agreement summary there? Original agreement amount, 29.8.
It's in 2018, when we started.
Yeah. I adjusted to the 2,932.
Mhm.
Not a cheap plant.
No, not at all.
Is he satisfied?
Any more board discussion on that?
Oh, thanks.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Councilman Lindsay?
Aye.
Councilman Hannah?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes. That's where you are, right?
Yep, okay. You wanna start?
Sure.
Sounds good.
Okay, got a couple things. We have, excuse me, I just need a nod from the board. Don't forget, we have 4th of July fireworks. Everyone's okay with having fireworks. We have all the insurance in place.
Yep.
Summer garbage schedule will be effective June 17th. It's a Monday. It's been in the paper, it's on Facebook, and it's on our town web government site. Just don't forget, anybody using the transfer station does have to have the window clings, or the bags need the stickers that have to be purchased. The new garbage law has been going pretty well. I'd like to thank all the property owners and the visitors for being very kind. We're all going through the process together, and a big thank you to the employees, because they really are trying their best to do a good job. So thank you everyone for being kind. We like kind. So last month it was brought up that there was a missing recording from a May 6th meeting. It's not missing. It was there the whole time. It never was lost. It's on my computer where it should be. Just verification. Also last month, members of the assembly commented they've been sending in FOIL requests, have never been answered, and that they're still waiting for the information. So I asked, if you did send in an email to me and had no response, why wouldn't you call me and say, hey, I sent you an email, you haven't answered me. I don't have any FOILs. I've not received any FOILs. You know, I don't like being accused of not doing my job at a meeting that I wasn't in attendance to defend myself. So if that person would please come in, I'd be more than happy to answer a FOIL. We have to legally answer them in 5 days. As soon as I get a FOIL, I contact my friendly attorney and we go over it. So please, if you have a FOIL out there that you sent in, please call me. We'll get it all straightened out. I don't have anything on my desk. And I think that's all I have.
Thank you. Should I let the attorney go last?
You wanna go last, you wanna go
Sure,
next?
yeah.
You go
I'll go
last?
All right, sounds great. Kyle, I'm gonna
Alright.
start with you next, thank
Yeah.
you.
So, I don't have a lot tonight, been a busy past month for myself personally. But I did meet with the school today, went over a couple things. Their graduation is set for June 28th at the North Street Field. I believe they did talk to you, Bonnie, about using the band shell.
Yes.
They did say this Thursday they'll have a final decision, I guess, as far as whether or not they're gonna go 100% outdoor or wanna keep the pavilion open as well, just in case of the rain, which I think is already set up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those two.
Their building project, they're on the slate for the zoning board, 6/26 agenda. This is to ask for a grant of the variance for the enclosure of the stairwell. The stairwell already sits within X amount of feet from the road, which is fine, but because they're enclosing it, it's gonna become part of the building. They have to ask for the variance, from the zoning board, so I'm sure, Garrett would have more information on that. I asked about a couple of things for the Sharp building. There was an issue with the water heater. They're gonna get back to me tomorrow after their OMMT meeting tomorrow. And then they had asked me I gotta get in touch with Chuck from the snowmobile department and Casey from the highway department. During the winter with the plowing and the grooming of the trail right there, a lot of the dirt and snow is getting pushed down the hill, which is wreaking havoc in the spring when it thaws on their softball field. So they're wanting to talk to see if there's a solution that either department could come and kind of haul some of that snow back out with a machine, or if we put up some sort of netting down the side of the road there to alleviate some of that going all the way down the hill. But again, I have to get a hold of Chuck and Casey, and get something set, get a meeting put together. Their summer school time has shifted this year to 9:15 a.m. to allow for the rec drop-off at 9 a.m. as kids are usually part of both programs, or teachers dropping off kids to one program, don't wanna be late to the summer school. They will be doing some work on the scoring shed at the North Street Field. To be finished this summer, they're adding a window, redoing a door, painting the shed, and they're redoing the shingles on that, which they had already planned on doing. Mike and I met with Kevin Kress up at the mountain last week, to go over a few things as far as compressors and pumps go. Mike, you might be able to explain a little bit more on this, but we did a walkthrough. The pumps and the compressors are aging very rapidly. They're in distress. It's not even worth taking them out to get them rebuilt or try and have them rebuilt. When Kevin broke down the numbers to us, it was within a few $1,000s of either rebuilding or buying new. So Kevin is working with National Grid for incentives on that. It'd be 3 years, 0 interest, if paid in full within those 3 years. We kind of gave them the head nod to go ahead and just see what we could get for incentives before any hard decision is made on that, because it is gonna cost some form of financial money that we have to allot for. That's all I have right now.
Kyle, if I can piggyback off that, I met with Kevin and we're gonna have a meeting with Michelle Higgins from EFC. They're the ones that gave us $125,000 towards the Smart Growth grant for the Macaulay Mountain snowmaking. So we have a meeting next week to see about funding for the rest of the snowmaking. They're offering 0% financing for 3 years. That's all I had to piggyback up. Thank you. Ben?
Thank you all for coming tonight. I would like to reflect on last Tuesday's board meeting in May. I take my role and responsibility as an elected Town of Webb council member seriously. I am dedicated to work for the people of the Town of Webb. In addition to working with my fellow council members and town supervisor and town employees to serve in the best interest of the Town of Webb. I'm also committed to collaborating with individuals, organizations, and communities from neighboring areas, but will do so in the best interest of the Town of Webb. I encourage you all to come to me with ideas, concerns, and questions. Your input is invaluable as we strive to make our community a better place for everyone. So, to all the snowmobilers and business owners that rely on snowmobiling in the winter, we hear your concerns and are listening. We are working on solutions, but reach out anytime with us with positive ideas and solutions. Mike and I did have a good meeting with 2 Town of Inlet board members over the permit issue. We did receive actual information on the number of miles that Inlet has for the trail permit. My math was off at 25. They actually have 15 miles that comes to 10% of the trail system. Macaulay Mountain, Kevin has been reaching out to me on a regular basis. He and the crew are working hard up there. And I appreciate it because it's a long time overdue. Mountain biking going on up there? No, because the guys that are building the trails are camping out, but they finished what they started last year. Now they are working on connecting that trail off of Little Moose back over to Macaulay. And thanks to AFTA and all the volunteers that helped over the weekend on the mountain biking trails. Big shout out to them. They need their help to get towards that portion of that grant that we need. So it's good. That's all I got.
Thank you. Tom?
I don't have a whole lot. That May 6th meeting that you're referring to, that's, I was the one who was looking for the recording to that.
It's there.
And I was told that it wasn't, and I understand you can't be at every meeting, you need to be on vacation. I knew you weren't around. I was trying to grab that for the May 12th meeting, so that's all that was, and I just told it wasn't available. And maybe it's because it needed to wait until you got back to make it available, I get that.
Just had to be plugged in, it was there. She thought it was missing and it wasn't, that's all.
Okay. Well, I didn't mean any harm in asking for it.
No, not at all, not at all.
As far, just a couple quick things. I'm sure you see all what's going on around here and what it takes to prepare this whole town. We are so shorthanded. I feel like in so many departments, whether you work for the town, whether you work for elsewhere, it takes a lot to get this town ready for what comes here in July, August, September, and October. I just want to give a huge shout out to all of our town employees, all of our business owners that are really working their tails off around here. I mean, we show up for a meeting with Scott Gaffney down at the rec center the other day to go over something quick, and he can't even stick around for that meeting too long because we had a water main break down there at North Street. And he just is so passionate about what he does around here. The guys are in that hole. Ben was there with me, and it's just I just want to say thank you to all these guys that when you drive by and they're looking down at the ground, they're not staring at the pavement. They're trying to figure out where these leaks are and where these things are going astray. Same thing with the highway department, the assessor's office. Tina, I think, is doing a great job over there. No news is good news. I think we're getting ready to prepare for this reval that'll help us out. Code's office, it goes on and on. Macaulay's down to 3 employees now. Right now, we're looking for more up there, I believe. So I just, and then to throw in a chairlift operation like we're doing here and the snowmaking with the climate stuff, the snowmobiling, everything, it's not easy around here. I just want to tip my cap to everybody that's still making things go. We did meet the rec center down there with that $60K we have to spend. I was in there yesterday with Tom from Advanced Spray Foam because the other spray foam companies didn't even respond to us. It's way too much to pull down all the walls and to rip down the ceilings and to respray and re-insulate. It's just, that's why they didn't come back to us. So we're going to reach out to get some quotes on just doing the doors. That was a huge part of what we're doing down there. Is the 23-man doors, I think it was, includes the overhead doors. That'll help with the insulation. Amanda from MVED did say, well, there could be more funding, and I don't wanna get too crazy here, but, you know, that building's 21 years old. That floor that's in there is coming on year 3, and it's got like a 15 to 20 year, you know, expectancy, so maybe we can consider planning a little more ahead and try and get the most out of it, cause it was pretty efficient this winter. And maybe we can get a little more out of it for the next few years, and maybe plan for like a 2030, 2035, new building or something along those lines. Just wanted to clue people on that. I just wanna touch on the housing thing quick. I feel like I think we've had them in the past, some housing committees and stuff, Bonnie. I mean, I think we had them when we started, and I understand the people first thing was there's a lot of pushback on that, and I get it, I understood the whole process, but I don't think we should just completely throw away the whole issue of housing that we have here. There's a lot of restaurants that are moving from J1 students and businesses that are moving from J1 students into H2B1. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that, but that means internationals can come here age 25 to 35 and they can stay here for 9 months. So like if everybody moves towards that and we just have a business owners and then all of the employees are H2B1 internationals that can't like live here or stay here, it can work, I guess, but your whole like sense of community, which I think is already hurting, just goes out the window. So I would really like it to see if we can somehow, I know we're working on stuff with the short-term rental restrictions, I know there's some good people that are working on that to try and to come up with a new, some new solutions to help out with that in our neighborhoods where it makes sense. The zoning review thing, I think is, Brian, you've had some, I think we're getting somewhere with that.
I did have a discussion with Andy, I think the week before last, and we went through the entire draft, and I got feedback, his comments, so, I don't know what he wants. I'm available if you want as a resource, at your disposal.
I know there's some huge updates in there that will really help with us, get somewhere. Cause I am for everything we've got going on around here, I really am. The events, the CAA is doing an amazing job. These upgrades at Macaulay are gonna be a game changer, I think it's fantastic. But how many more things can we hold, and how many more things can we do to attract tourists up here before we can't handle them? You know, it's getting harder and harder and harder for a lot of us up here. Other than that, the snowmobile permit stuff, I know these guys they met with some town of inlet board members there. I'm kinda waiting to hear what comes up and what kind of potential agreements we can come up with. Whether we work together or not, we have to decide what we're gonna do, because I mean, next month will be July, so winter will be right around the corner, so I hope we can work on that. And then again, just if we could somehow discuss the housing stuff, or get some sort of a committee going, maybe in the next couple months of meetings to start making that a little more of a priority again. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Mike?
Oh, yeah, thanks, Ronnie. So you guys covered a lot of the things that I have written down, but I did want to ask a question about the Eagle Bay sign. I see that got taken down by some trees, and I probably should have mentioned this a while ago, but that's not there. Are we doing something about that, or
Which one?
the one going into Eagle Bay?
Nobody called us.
I didn't even
I don't know
know.
anything about it.
Okay, I'm saying something.
Great, Town of Eagle Bay sign. Is that one that Langley made?
Yeah, I believe so. I'm not positive of that, though. Maybe he
It's
did.
on the right as you go up.
He might not have done that sign. But
Okay.
anyway,
No, that
it's-
came from the
it
other
needs it.
lady.
Okay.
But
We'll-
that doesn't
okay,
matter.
we'll look into
Doesn't
that.
matter,
Doesn't
right?
matter.
Thank you, didn't know about that.
No.
I drove right by there, too.
Last meeting, I failed to mention the new tree on Point Park, which is gonna be our Christmas tree. I know there's gonna be some people out there saying it's kinda short and everything, but it's the way it is, it will grow. In order to get a live tree, you just can't get a 30-footer typically, so, and, it was donated by the Cody family. They own a tree farm in Binghamton, and they are gonna take care of it, keep it trimmed, and make it hopefully a beautiful tree someday, so it's gonna be our Christmas tree. so thank you to them. I don't know if you got a plaque or anything.
Not yet, it's coming.
Okay, thanks.
Luke's making
I was gonna ask about that income survey, I don't know where that stands, where we're at with that.
They're working on it. It should be almost complete. They got a great response from the community.
Good, good.
Even when they knocked on the doors,
Right.
I was surprised.
I did wanna ask the board, and I don't know how this goes, hopefully with the town attorney, he can maybe help us out. We did get kind of a verbal from Steve Yu about eventually retiring his position. My concern is we just can't have him leave and not be working on getting a replacement up there. So how do we go about dealing with, can we go about dealing with that before we get a
Put it in
letter?
writing. Tell them to give us the letter.
You can, you can, you can start the process, you can, advertise for it, you can canvass for it. Is it a competitive position? Do you know?
I would say, yeah.
I don't know if his is,
I don't
the ski area attendants are, but
think
the
it
manager
is.
is not.
Okay, well, if you give me that information,
think
I
it is.
could,
I don't think it is.
I could tell you what steps you
Right.
need to take.
Okay.
Okay,
But you
perfect.
certainly can, yeah, pending.
Because, you know, winter's gonna be coming pretty quick, and I know that he wants to stay on until November is his birthday, I believe, which would be his retirement date, but he wants to stay on getting paid until January, till the new year, I believe. And this is all just him speaking.
You can
Nothing in
absolutely
paper.
start before that, yeah.
Okay. I would like to get moving on that. so-
Okay, perfect.
However it's legal.
Okay,
The bed tax, I was gonna mention that a little bit. Obviously, the county, they wouldn't be doing the bed tax if they didn't want the money. It's pretty simple.
Absolutely.
What they're gonna do with it, nobody knows, but it was coming. I don't personally have a big problem with it. We pay a bed tax wherever we go, so it's what it is. The Macaulay Mountain deal, when can we go for bid or go to bid on that deck?
It's not ready. We're gonna go to bid in January. Remember when he was here? We're gonna go to bid January,
yeah, January.
not January, jeez, Nance. July 9th, and the bids are gonna be due
Okay, all right.
August 13th. Work can't begin until September 16th because of the weddings.
Thank you.
And that is, we're waiting to hear back from Al, after you guys met with him.
So we are moving forward with that deck finally.
Yep. So it'll be on the agenda July 9th to go
Nancy,
to,
did you talk about with him with the removal part of it being in there? Cause,
no, Mike said that the contractor was gonna remove it. Right?
cause
That's what
we
you
had
told
talked
me.
about that at the end, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mike said we weren't,
Okay, cause I just seen some town workers around and thought, brought it up to a couple of them if they thought it was something.
well, Scott said he had
No.
absolutely no time.
Right, okay, so we did have conversation on
I
that,
know
Tommy, I'm sorry.
DPW, yeah, I remember, yeah.
What we we can't take it down until after some of these weddings and stuff, because it would be very unsafe to have just even if we block the door off, there's nothing there.
Okay.
So we'd have to wait, and it just got kinda complicated on.
Cause there's a wedding June 29th, there's nothing in July, and there's some in August, right?
And the August people called to make sure the deck was gonna be there, not that they're gonna use it, but they're gonna have a tent on the mountainside. And with pictures, they just didn't want
Okay, yeah.
a rough looking building, so we were,
Right.
in talking to Mike, we were gonna leave it.
September
Yeah, if
14th.
there's ever a fire in the building.
And then they can get out if there's a fire, yeah.
What about that date was still like mid-November, right, for completion?
So I also wanted to make mention of Hannah, our rec director. She's been doing a great job on organizing a lot of stuff. So I can't, hands off, I'd like to say thank you to her, because she
It was
really
a great
has
job.
control of that. And our new buildings guys, John and Bill, they've been banging out some great stuff, so I appreciate that. And that's all I got.
All right, I got a whole slew for.
Good.
First of all, the bed tax, I've asked for every dime back that they're taking from us. Just so y'all know. I don't know if we'll get it, but I've asked for everything back. So I'll start with, at last month's meeting, someone in the audience spoke of the town of Webb hiding an audit. Our last audit was in 2018. So if you think there's something else, please come in to speak to me or speak right now. Anyone want to talk about the audit that we're hiding? I didn't think so. February 22nd, the auditor came up.
When's the
and
next audit?
Pardon me?
When's the next audit?
They surprise you. They don't tell you
February
anything.
22nd, the auditor came back and we reviewed the audit from 2018 to see what recommendations we had administered. The community garden, thank you to all the volunteers and organizers of the community garden. The fence is up, the ground covering is down, the wood chips have been placed. The boxes have been moved inside. Scott's DPW department will be hooking up water to the inside of the fencing very soon. We've been talking about townwide grant plans. I've sent all of those plans to Herkimer County IDA and other individuals and elected officials to see if we can get the huge grant townwide going. We have gotten a tree for the dog park donated by Ray and Mary Ellen Letterman in name of their last dog named Duncan. They felt this was a very good way to memorialize Duncan as well as providing some much needed shade. So thank you to Ray, Mary Ellen, and Duncan. Last year the town purchased hockey boards. They were used and they're sitting in storage. With the winters that we were having, I think that it's time to focus on having a supervisors hockey committee formed. This committee will discuss the possible placement. After a placement is chosen, we can move forward with engineering and grant process. People that will be serving on that committee will be Councilman Lindsay, Councilman Greco, Danielle Parker, Hannah Wheaton, Katie Orr, and Scott Hughes. I had a meeting with Dorian from the EFC. He came to the wastewater treatment plant and did a site meeting with Alex Ross, contractors, BCA engineers, and myself. The project seemed to be running very smoothly with no unforeseeable issues. Thank you to Alex and Eric. The plant has looked the best it's looked in many, many years. Very good shape. They're keeping it very well maintained. I've been meeting with the Health Center Committee regularly. It's time for a supervisors committee to be formed to address our MVHS healthcare needs of the town. So that committee will be Joe Rentrona, Don Kelly, Mary Brophy Moore, Councilman Hanna, Dr. Perlansky, and one representative from MVHS. I have inquired to Big Moose for one individual, but that individual has not given me a firm answer yet. They'd like to know how much time it will take. On May 31st, I sent out an email about moving forward on becoming a pro-housing community to the board. The governor has now mandated that certain grant applications are not open to any municipalities if they are not certified with the state to be a prosing housing community. I did not get a response from anybody in that email, so I'd like to know how you'd like to proceed. Andy Getty would like full board backing before he spends any time on this. It's very labor intensive for his office, and that's the next step that needs to be done. So what would you guys like to do on that?
Yeah, move forward on it, for sure. I thought we had the letter of intent, but you did that part, right?
Are you already certified? Cause you said you have to be
That was a
certified.
letter,
Yeah, I know that was just step one. You guys did the letter of intent to let them know
Correct.
where you're at. And then Andy's got a bunch of stuff he's gotta put together.
correct. But he would like full board backing, and he'd like you guys to know what it's gonna do to his office, so I think that you should all call
To
him.
get certified?
Yes,
It's a
certified to the state of
big,
New
big
York.
packet.
I think we gotta do whatever it takes. If he needs more help in that office to prepare it, then we've gotta do that too. But that's, I'm just one, you guys can.
Well, and what is getting
If we're not
certified
pro-housing,
do?
then we're.
So we aren't going, so there's a lot of grant applications that we aren't going to be able to file if we aren't certified. And that could have a lot to do with our infrastructure and,
So we would be able to get grants and stuff like that for infrastructure because we're showing that we're pro-housing.
Apply for them.
Apply for it.
Yeah, all that goes.
I'm just saying, it doesn't, for anybody that might be worried about that term pro-housing, it doesn't mean we're gonna put up Section 8 housing and go
Doesn't
down
mean
that
any
road.
of that.
Doesn't mean any of that stuff, it just
Just
means
means
that
that
we're
we're-
for housing.
that we're not against it. So I think that you should all talk to Andy about what it entails. Okay?
We can't decide on that now. You guys need to-
And if
You
you
guys
want.
need to talk to Andy?
Did anyone educate themselves on the process? Because I did write that in the email. That before you just go, oh yes, let's do that, educate yourself on the process so we're not wasting town money by saying, oh yes, let's do that, and then all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute, I didn't realize it was all that. So I really would like you to look into it before we just go yes.
Okay.
I think you should see what it entails.
There's a lot of stuff that we just go and say go yes for that.
Right, and
As important as housing, right?
and we've spent taxpayer dollars by not looking into what we need to. So that's all I'm asking is that you look into it a little bit before we just say yes. I'm not against it, I,
Will do. Come back up on Monday's meeting, the.
sounds
July.
great. Yeah, I would love to
Sure.
discuss it at the next meeting. Sounds great. All right. Brian, our town attorney.
Hey, all right, I wanted to update you on a conversation I had with Steve Shahan today. He
Okay.
represents the ambulance corps. As you know, you folks put money in the budget last year for the, emergency medical services, for a contract with the ambulance corps. We have been working on a draft. There have been some hesitations and some misunderstandings over the past few months. Steve and I have agreed on a draft. You each have copies of it. It incorporates the same amount you put in the budget for the payment to the ambulance corps. It also provides, as we had discussed last year, that the $300,000 that they can collect, if they can collect $300,000, it goes towards their budget. Anything over that would get rolled over to the town for next year's ambulance services. There was some misunderstanding about what the total budget amount was going to be. This draft incorporates what you folks put in the budget, the $550. So if you want to review that, you've got a couple paths open to you. I think the Corps is fairly anxious to get paid. We expected to pay them in February. If you like the draft, you could authorize Bonnie to sign a final version of it. Once I just put it into final from the draft you've got, or you could review it at your leisure and take it up at a special meeting or the next meeting. That's your call, but I'll gladly answer any questions that you want about it.
The resource recovery of $300,000. If they say they get $216,000 and don't reach the 300,000, are they expecting us to make them whole?
My position was that was what the first draft would require. This draft does not require that. Those were my orders from you folks, so I told Steve that was not gonna, the money was already budgeted so that we couldn't add any additional if there was a shortfall in their billing revenue.
Okay, so that's a change from the first draft to the second draft.
It is.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
I think I have a lot of questions, but I didn't read through this.
I was only able to get Steve's final sign off on it today. There was some, I think, misunderstanding or miscommunication.
So you did get this email.
I'd like to speak up, please. Any
On
concerns
522.
about this contract?
Absolutely, stand up, please.
All right.
Come right up here so we can hear you.
We don't hear them.
I know, thank you. Thank you.
My name is Gary Staub. I'm the president of the Old Volunteer Ambulance Corps. And we have been working on this agreement for some time. And Brian, you are correct. There's been a little misunderstanding, a little delay in working back and forth on making markups on the agreement. a lot of questions that are still kind of up in the air, but after talking with our attorney today, he was very strongly in the opinion that he and Brian both felt that this was going to be a solid agreement so that we could move forward. The town district budget is in place at the $550,000, and the revenue recovery is in place at a sum of $300,000. And for those of you who do not know what revenue recovery is, that is the money that is received by the ambulance corps for billing a patient who needs the ambulance service. Last year it was at $216,000. The ambulance corps was allowed to keep $200,000 of it, and $16,000 was given to the town. The district budget is $550,000. There's $350,000 of that going to the ALS paramedic program, and $200,000 of that being the cost of operation, the expenses of having the ambulance ready to go when it's called upon. And the revenue recovery is money that helps us grow and afford to get the equipment that we need as it ages out. You know, emergency medical equipment is not cheap, as most things aren't. And it was my anticipation through what Steve Sheehan did say to me today, that because he and Brian had gotten the wording very comfortable for this particular concept of the $300,000, that it would probably be a well-received contract this evening and hopefully voted on positively so that we can move forward, because once this contract is signed, we need to start working on 2025 so that we can get it to the town board when their budget process starts in late August, early September. So according to what I felt after having a conversation with Steve, is that this was probably going to occur this evening.
Okay, you said something about there's still some questions up in the air. What would those questions be?
We can discuss that when we move forward into 2025.
So there are no questions for this contract?
There are no
right now?
questions for this contract
Okay, perfect.
at this point.
Can I add something to that, please?
Yes.
If you could please do this ASAP, because as the treasurer of the old Ford Volunteer Ambulance Corps, we're running out of money to pay ALS. We've gone through this for a long time, as you know. If you could please work on it as soon as possible. We were hoping tonight. We really need to get it done.
Thank you.
So I do have a question. We went through this and we formed a district. The district was so that you can collect money for the ambulance.
Correct.
You didn't get that money?
We haven't.
No, you couldn't agree on a contract. So we have the money, we just couldn't agree on a contract.
It was the understanding of the concept of the revenue recovery. There was some misunderstanding in that process. And what really, to me, which made it really confusing, was that we had in place for the last few years a contract that dealt with ALS being a line item in the town's budget, okay, and revenue recovery being part of that agreement, okay?
Right.
And so what occurred was, as we moved into the district, we were able to put in the cost of operation as a district expense, which then added the $200,000 to the district budget. Revenue recovery is, you know, it's $300,000 in the agreement, but there's no guarantee that that will happen. But there is some onus, I would say, by the town to work on making us whole if that was the case. But I think discussion like that could move forward as we move forward into the next years, all right? But for right now, as very important for us because we, excuse me, have been utilizing the revenue recovery from 2023, which we got in in February, to take care of the ALS program, like Pat said. And that's important, that's the most important part of the contract, is having ALS paramedics on duty. And so, without the passing of the contract tonight, and us receiving that money, we're getting down to seeds and stems, so to speak.
Gary,
Yeah.
perhaps you should explain what ALS means.
Well, it's advanced life support, which is provided to patients through paramedics.
24/7, 365.
Correct.
And, do you guys have questions? Thank you.
Just so I have an understanding, because I've seen three different contracts, this being the third one that was presented tonight. It's the 550,000 that you're asking for. That was in the contract originally.
That's the district, yes, that's
the
already
district,
dealt
that's the
with.
tax line. Where I kept getting hung up on, was the $300,000, revenue and recovery. Are you asking, just so I know, because like I said, I read 3 different contracts. If the ambulance corps does not meet that $300,000 threshold, are you asking the town to make you whole this year, or is
No.
that continuing talks later on?
No, continuing
Okay.
talks.
That's all I need to know.
Any other questions from the board? Any comments from our attorney?
Good, unless you have questions.
Can I sign this contract, please?
Yes.
I'll make a motion for you to sign that contract.
Second.
Who said? Ben,
Roll call vote, please.
hold on. To sign contract.
All right.
Roll call, sorry. Councilman Lindsay?
Aye.
Councilman Hannah?
Aye.
Councilman Greco?
Aye.
Councilman Ross?
Aye.
Supervisor Baker?
Aye.
5 ayes. So you're gonna give us a clean copy tomorrow and we'll sign away?
Before lunch, yes.
Okay.
All right.
We'll get it signed tomorrow.
Gotta get there before lunch.
Thank you.
We'll get 2 copies.
I know. I agree. You give that a clap.
Anything
Well,
else?
with that district thing and everything, it did kind of throw us a curveball, understanding all
Anything
this
else
stuff,
from
so.
our attorney?
Do you need anything? I don't know, I don't have anything that I needed to.
Don't think so.
We're gonna go to the auditors now.
I don't think so.
I just wanna make sure.
I'll be here.
I wasn't, cutting you off or anything.
No, I appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're off to the audience. Yes, Robin.
Robin Hill is a resident. I want to say thanks to the Highway Department, I believe, for replacing all the stolen, or at least the majority of the stolen street signs. We appreciate having those back off of South Shore Road. And then also, I had made a call to the DEC Northville office a few weeks ago regarding the dilapidated condition of the entering Adirondack Park sign down by the Woodgate Cemetery. And God bless them, they've already got it replaced, and that was through the DEC Region 6 District, which covers us. So I made sure to call them yesterday and thank them very much for their quick
Thank you.
response, because I really didn't think it was gonna be done. And it's been looking bad for a long time, so,
Thank you.
just wanna let you know.
Yes.
Garrett Hoffman. I'm thinking back towards the, local law that you were trying to do for the lakefront. And what I'm looking at is postponing it is, I don't think, doing any justice to the lakefront for this summer. And what I'm proposing that you guys do is you pass the local law ordinance that you put in place as of now, and then work on an amendment to the enforcement as the summer program goes forward, as the summer progresses. You can work on the enforcement, you can also, as a supervisor, you can discuss with the police chief or whoever you're gonna have do that job to understand that what we're looking at is not enforcing somebody getting a ticket, for being there at 5 a.m. versus being there after the fact. I think you can explain that to them and just have them say if they see them there the night before and the boat's still there in the morning, then they get a ticket. And I implore you guys to just think about that as, does that really, the lakefront really is kind of bland and dead since this ordinance came into place in the past with closing it down to overnight parking. I think that it would be a big help for the town for the summer to allow that to progress.
And just so everybody knows, I did talk to the members of our police force, and they'll support us 100% in any way we want to proceed on that.
Those times have to be in there, right? The 12 a.m. and the 6 a.m.
The request I got was to structure it to prohibit overnight parking. And my thought was, if the police can't see that it was there the entire time by watching the boat sit there, how do you define overnight parking? So it seemed that the logical way to do it was to prohibit parking between those particular hours. If there's a different enforcement, I mean, I'm the drafter, that's all.
No, yeah, I just wanted to clear that
Thank
up,
you.
because the
Yes.
enforcement things, yeah.
I'm Tim Rackard, I'm a summer visitor. If you don't wanna do overnight parking, and you want people to come into restaurants and that in the evening, fishermen to start at 5, why don't you do no parking from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m.?
No enforcement.
What time do the police go off?
They're not getting up at 2 a.m. to write tickets.
No, they're not all day.
That's what throws the curveball in all this, it's enforcement and then figuring out a time. I mean, I agree, midnight, to me, I think that's not the right time, because people that are here might be here later than midnight, for crying out loud, and they might be traveling back on a nice moonlit night or something, you know.
What did you put in basically Thursday night, right? So Thursday and Sunday. So Thursday night, the on-duty police officer could mark what boats are there in those areas. And then if we don't have 24-hour service, which
How about a camera?
No, camera, sure, but like the next morning, somebody, they could check and see if that boat is still there, and then they would get a ticket,
Lake
right?
George, they got, you can't see markers unless you see them with they flash their light on them. So if they're still there in the morning, then they give them a ticket.
That's a good idea.
I'm pretty sure it's Lake George, or Bolton, maybe Bolton Landing does that.
I think what Garrett's saying too is that
And they charge.
this is kind of a unnecessary perk for some of the motel owners. Like, people have been missing this. A lot of your guests, right? Not just your guests. Sure.
Well, yeah, and
I think for the town as a whole, to have the parking and to have that allow for the tourism, I think it really enhances our town. And I think breaking it up so that there's a couple days a week, I think is an absolutely great idea, because it was a problem before, and I understand that. I live right there, I see it every day, boats were there all year. I wondered why, when they were sinking, the town went over there and pumped them out at the time, when they should have just untied the damn thing from the dock and called the DEC and let them handle it. But at this point, that's a moot point now, it's been closed, I think it should be open, I think you guys should revisit that tonight, vote on that portion of it, and then amend the law for the enforcement at a later time. That's my suggestion.
Yes, Pat Russell?
Bonnie, I just wanted to say this, in regards to the bed tax and the way in which you handle legislators. For an example, the $250,000 that was given by the county to the town, was there a thank you that was signed?
Yes.
Did you guys all sign it?
No, I signed it on behalf of all of us.
It'd be a great idea if you sent one that everybody had a signature on.
Mm-hmm.
Legislators are like little kids. If you demand something from them, you're not gonna get it. So to try to force something on them, it's not gonna happen. When you want this pet tax stuff and how to do it, write a nice letter, ask for a meeting, go with Don, and I wanna say to you that Don just started, and he's done a fantastic job already. He got in there, and the second resolution that he had to deal with was about the pet tax. And he's done a phenomenal job. But be nice about it, and that's how you get a better reaction from people.
I've been working very closely with Don over that, and he talked to me about how much to get back and what to suggest. But yes.
Right now, there's not a lot there. for money for a bed tax. But if this goes through a short-term rental,
Mm-hmm.
that's where it'll be.
I had a conversation with Don also about that, and I did thank, well, not thank him because he wasn't in place then, but thanked the county for giving us that money for that, thing at McCully, so.
I reached out to John Pizak too, and tried to thank the county publicly as well, but for the 250, for
John
that.
Pizik had nothing to do with it.
No, the county gave us that money.
That came when I was there, to get it through the ARP money.
Well then, yeah, we need,
So make sure that the legislators know, we've got a whole new row of legislators who don't know anything about the town of Webb and what we stand for up here and the economic impact. You know, they know they get a lot of money from taxes, but some of them have no clue. Part of the reason I left.
Thank you.
appreciate that, Pat. Yeah, I'm all for that.
Yes.
Just a quick question. I noticed when Nancy wrote a report tonight, that there was no correspondence read. Was it an oversight, or just was there no correspondence?
She talked about that Tom Dixon letter.
Okay, that's it.
That was the only one we
Okay.
had. That was the only thing we had. Just one-
Correspondence was that
just that
and
one
to,
letter.
Okay, I just wanted to make.
Yep,
Bonnie Lutz, Inlet Town Clerk. I just want to make sure you received the correspondence from our town summarizing the end of the year
yes.
costs. Okay.
And did you get the email back saying that,
To bring down the permits. Yep.
right, and that Mike's doing the, audit of all the permits like he always does?
Oh, no, I didn't see that one.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, 'cause at
That
the
might
la-
have come from Mike.
Right, and at the last meeting, it was, the number was mentioned, but I believe that I mentioned that was without the deductions for
Right,
costs.
absolutely, because I don't know what your
And that's what we're
expenses are,
working on.
and, yeah, so you would have to deduct all your expenses and then.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Anyone else? Yes.
We had that meeting with Inlet about the snowmobile trails. Are we going to make another meeting with them? Do we have any further plans to go forward with any of that?
You guys should be talking to Mike and Ben.
I am.
Yeah,
Set
maybe
up-
Well-
Let's go for it. Did you guys schedule another meeting? I mean,
No, we did not schedule another meeting.
our takeaway from that was that you guys were gonna talk to the board, we were gonna come up with an idea to work it out with Inlet.
Correct, and we tried. Inlet's here, if they want to speak up, but we got nothing. We got a bill for this next thing, for the next payment, that's all we got. That's all I can say.
My idea, or my takeaway from that meeting was that you guys were gonna come up with something that you felt comfortable proposing to Inlet.
Well,
Was
one
there any
thing has to
proposal to
happen,
Inlet?
Devin, we don't know if Inlet's free or not. That's a unknown right now. And we've asked. What is Inlet doing? We would like to know.
You wanna
Because it
know?
matters, yep, absolutely.
I mean, one of us is gonna talk, so go ahead. No, go ahead. First off, I'd like to, John Wright, Town Supervisor, and I'd like to thank the town board for paying the $37,000. I think that was a step in the right direction, and I know it wasn't an easy one for you guys, but again, a step in the right direction. I also want to reiterate, the town of Inlet is not against the Old Forge business area, the town board, none of this. I feel very strongly that we're one community. We're separated by a county line and a town line in different tax districts, but, you know, you got the banking, the water park, you know, we've got Rocky Mountain, I could go on and on and on, but the visiting public and even the seasonal residents and some of our residents don't necessarily know where the town line is unless they see the sign when they're driving down the road. So if we can work together moving forward, I think it's gonna be great. I will say at this point in time, because of the things that had happened, the town of Inlet is going free. That ship has sailed. I think there's a way for us to all move forward positively with that. And I wanna endeavor for that to happen. We're not against you guys. We're not against the businesses here in Old Forge. We want the businesses in Old Forge to survive as much as we want ours to survive. It's one community as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, I could go on and on forever. Mike, I'll apologize if I didn't make every meeting that you guys wanted to have. As you know, my wife's been sick. She's been gradually getting worse. That became part of the issue. The main point that I've always portrayed to our town board was, as the talk started, was it seemed like because of the discrepancy in trail miles or permits being processed and where they were being processed, the 1486% didn't seem like it was working anymore, whereas I always felt it did. There was a proposed flat rate at one point by a previous supervisor, Dave. You know, we very strongly came back and said we're not interested in a flat rate. And it seemed like it was always moving towards a flat rate. For budgeting issues or for lack of belief in the 1486 split. Quite honestly, Bonnie's parents came up with that 1486 split, how many years ago, Bonnie?
Many.
Many. It worked through all the years. I'd like to see you guys come to terms with the last season that we had the permits that were joint. The snowmobiling public purchased a permit that had the town of Inlet and the town of Webb's name on it. So if we can put that to bed and find a way to move forward, I'm all for it. And I want to do it in a positive way. I really want to watch some of the negative stuff slide away. That's not what I'm about. So, thank you.
Well, John, could you, you have to just, for this year, you guys are free? Is that the answer?
Moving forward. Yes.
That was the question that was asked that we really wanted an answer. So we could have this conversation, where do we go next?
Yeah, right. You know, one of the other sticking points on the mileage, and then I'll go up, maybe. The Moose Foot Plains is critical to this situation.
Very critical.
And yes, we get 7, 8, 9, depending on what year it is, 1,000 back from the state. You guys groom state land that's in your trail permit mileage. You could build a stake for that. You choose not to because it's a pain in the ass. The reason Inlet does it is Hamilton County is the only county in the state where the towns are the ones responsible for handling the billing for the clubs. We have to handle the billing for the Barnstormers, which is based in Inlet. Seco does the billing for the clubs down there. Indian Lake does the billing for clubs up there. It just behooved us, if we were submitting the bill for somebody else, let's put in for the miles. To the point where we've been GPSing the heck out of them to see if we can stretch another 20 feet out of it. For $7,000 to $8,000. That doesn't pay for the grooming. But it's an offset. I'm not gonna leave that money on the table if it's sitting there. But those miles are crucial to the area snowmobiling community. Crucial.
So that's regardless too, if it were to go back to like where the agreement was, you guys, with all that's happened and everything, free is the move for Inlet right now, even if an agreement were to.
We were looking at that meeting that we talked.
I'm not saying we would do, I'm just.
No.
Yeah.
I'm trying to explain a little too. At that meeting that we had, I told you at the end of the meeting, right now we're free. If there's a proposal that you guys wanna bring forward to us and say, this is the way we wanna go, we're more than willing to listen to that proposal. So right now, the only proposal I got is $50,000. That's the proposal that I got, okay? I don't got any other proposal, you know? And so the $50,000 doesn't cut it for us. You guys are getting all the credit card charges, no matter how much we process, you get all the charges. So you're getting all the money. So if we get 50,000 plus what we collect, we don't collect anything because it's all going to the credit cards in your account, it's $50,000. If you're $50,000, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. And that's where we're at right now, unless you correct that and say it's different.
Well, we can really get into quite a conversation.
Table here, it blows me away that like we can't fix this. You guys got to keep $1 million. I don't know what it was this year, but was that not enough?
Duffy,
Don't
you're missing the point. Leave the money out of it.
It's not, it is. The money is important.
No, it isn't.
It is. How is $1 million not important? How is $1 million in revenue not important?
It's very important, but you're making this about money, and it's this agreement that we have to deal with needs to be settled between these two communities that we work together. When we sent them, and I can come up with a lot of numbers, we sat and talked about a lot of numbers, and I believe that they'll agree with a lot of things I'm gonna have to say here. When we sent them their budget right now, I believe, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, is around $115,000 to $150,000 for the snowmobile deal. Am I right or
The
wrong?
revenue that we're getting is 150.
To run your snowmobile
That's
department.
the revenue that we get.
The anticipated revenue.
Yeah, the
Which
anticipated,
is
the
always
costs are
set
more
low,
than
cause
that.
you don't know what the season's gonna bring.
Okay,
Same
but.
that you do. You
Correct, that's-
personally, you set yours low, no?
Correct.
Okay.
So, in the past, I know for a fact, somewhere along the line, when we're collecting all this money, they got 180 or more. Okay? So you guys sat there and said, what are you guys doing with all the extra money? Well, when they're running their department with 115 and they got 180, where was the extra money?
That's not what we budgeted to spend, we budgeted to spend
I'm just saying.
$160,000 to $180,000.
We're not asking you for where your extra money went, Mike.
Yes, you did.
No.
You flat out did.
We
Don't
said,
even.
You got $1 million. They got to keep 200K. You brought in $1.2 million. They keep roughly 200K for easy numbers. You get to keep $1 million. I asked you, is that not enough for you to run your groomer organization?
It's a lot. It's plenty. It's great.
Plenty.
It's wonderful.
So why can't we restore this agreement and give them their part of the pie?
It hasn't even been brought up to
there was some
restore that agreement.
There were some.
We've asked 100 million times, what are we gonna do?
But there were some discrepancies too in the payment. You know what I mean? Mike, with before, like when we had talked about the 37,000 and what they got to keep. Remember, you guys weren't sure. That was the meeting before when Nancy wasn't here. A couple people weren't on the board, weren't sure that what they take in, we still pay the difference. So we got all confused on who takes in what, which spot takes and who doesn't. None of that should matter. It's the overall sales, which this year was $932,000 or whatever it is, $932K. So 14% of that just goes to inlet for that. We've got to get to a point
Less
where.
what we collected already.
Yeah,
Right.
of course. So if you've collected a portion of that, but still, at the end of the day, it's 14% of that number.
Absolutely.
So there was talk about we sold this, we sold that, or people weren't aware of that 14%, and that's where all the concern came from. Where for the first time in since 1988, there was a problem with it because I think it was being misunderstood how it works. You know, I don't know.
How much was it for this year? It was 900.
I'd like Brian to speak for a minute, please. Thank you.
I think the board wants to hear everybody's concerns, but I think it might be counterproductive to have the negotiation at a public meeting like this. I think maybe you should state your concerns, and then the committee from here can meet
We've been
again
trying
with
for
the
5
committee.
months.
Okay,
So like, this is the only place we get to do it.
well, I don't wanna debate with you
We've
either.
had other
I'm
meetings and they
suggesting.
don't go anywhere, so we're here to.
I'm
fight
advising
for
the
our
board, I'm not
winning time.
advising
Yeah,
you. You can say what you want.
You know, you can email us, call us. You haven't heard.
Pat, did you guys sit in their meeting when they said they're gonna go free and complain to them, like, what are you doing?
We don't
Were
have
you
a
there?
choice, we can't fix it, we're not in their township.
But you can voice your opinion.
We don't want them to
They're-
go free.
they're
I've
from
talked to
Inlet.
all of them about this, we don't want them
We're
to.
advocating for the two towns to work together, and it seems like it makes more sense to sell a permit for $100 and benefit both towns than to take an 86-14 split, and then you guys take that off, you start selling a permit for $85, you're netting the same amount, and all you did was cut them out. You can't sell the pass for the same price that you sold it last year. You're gonna make everybody mad.
And
They're already mad.
There was only an issue when the payment, when we're gonna get paid. That's why they're trying to go free now, is because we're trying to just
It all
get rid
started
of the
because we
agreement.
held out
you know?
money. This all got brought to the surface and we're here because you guys held out money. That's why we're here today. If you didn't hold out money, this agreement stays intact, and we're not fighting this cause right now.
And if you're gonna say Inlet only has 10% of the trails, it's not really fair considering that 10%, if that's what you're gonna call it on the low end, that 10% corridor is arguably the most important corridor of the entire town of Webb system. It's way more important than Round Pond, Wheeler Loop, Bud's Run, all the miles that you guys claim you have in this system that go nowhere.
Bonnie, when you and I met 3 months into your first term, you came to my office and you asked, what's it all about? I said one thing, access. I said access. It's access to Indian Lake, it's access to Racket Lake, Long Lake, it's access. It's not about who's selling the permits, it's not about who's processing the permits, it's not about who's collecting the money and putting it in the bank. It's about access. That's the strongest point that I could have ever made. And I still feel horrible because it's turned into a negative.
As do we, John,
So, let's get something clear right here and now. The town of Inlet is basically has being forced to go free because of a decision that was made from this board, sitting via email and not in open meetings law. That kind of violates open meetings law, doing it by correspondence only, and then bringing it to attention to people at a later time. You're not really supposed to do that. The thing that I see is you forced the town of Inlet to go free by doing that decision that you made originally. You can fix this decision very quickly. You leave the contract be as is for this year, and then look at next year and renegotiate the contract at that point. Guys can work to a decision. The permits already have everybody's name on it. Why change the system when it worked? Where's the economic increase in growth for the town of Webb to do this? What was your initial thing to do this? Our own town master plan, and I'm just gonna bring this to your attention because I don't know how many people actually read the master plan. Our own town master plan, identify, evaluate ways the town can share or consolidate services within departments as well as municipality or other entities. Evaluate programs, especially with Inlet, to seek areas that could benefit from partnering and consolidation. It's that simple. It really is that simple. Stop what you've done so far, put the contract back into place, let Inlet work as it was, work on the idea of splitting up the amount of work that comes to the info office so that everybody processes permits at a little bit more of a easier rate. It's capable of being done. I watched the May meeting and there's a guy right here that's the IT guy that can handle it. Why are we pushing this to the point where it's gotten to where it is? Put it back, fix it now, make it the way it was, renegotiate at a later time. That's the way you do it. Set it up that right now you make it as part of the decision that next year you look at it starting in the beginning of winter next winter and you start negotiating for the following year then. Why drag it any further? Why?
So it's a wonderful point, but I'm gonna say this again like I've said it before. And I'm not trying to make anybody wrong or anything. But exactly what you just said, we tried to do multiple times. You say, get it back right where it was and then negotiate. We tried to negotiate 5, 6, 10 years ago, and we never got to that point.
Okay, I understand that.
You
can do that right now, and you can make it as part of the agreement that they do right now. You can make it part of that agreement that it is negotiated or the contract will be null and void at that point. You can do that now. Make it part of the contract.
I'd be willing to go out on a limb and say there was never gonna be a negotiation. You wanted to retract from the original 14.86%. That was the first thing that I heard. That's what the town board heard. That was not going to be a negotiation. It was gonna be an acrimonious meeting, quite honestly.
And what we heard was 17% and out the door you went. That's what we heard.
Or what?
17% or he's gonna wash his hands of it.
When did I say
That was that meeting that you sat right here.
I watched that meeting, Bonnie. I'm sorry, I did not do that either.
You didn't ask, did he ask for 17%?
No, I said 17% might be more of a.
One board member did. I pointed right to him. One board
Right,
member.
you gotta understand, wait, hold on, guys, please.
Tim's trying to talk back there.
Tim.
Yep.
Thank you.
Is
He's
Tim-
out in the beach.
Is Tim coming in? Is Tim trying to say something?
Tim.
17%
Thank
would be
you.
a nice number. I didn't force anybody, I just
Said
suggested
that,
that
yes.
my thoughts on
And-
17% seemed like a fair number.
And,
With all due respect, the way the meeting ended was, we will discuss we will discuss what was just discussed at this meeting, and we will get back to you. And the next response was a $50,000 check. That's the only thing where I see it kind of maybe went awry. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
what-
Is maybe we could have gotten back to
forced
each other.
it with the
and
50,000.
said, yeah.
That's what happened. We forced it with the 50,000. We
Right.
tried to come back and say, let's meet. It
Right.
didn't work. And then we sent you a letter and asked for the money, and you said, no, we're not giving it to you. That's what happened.
We'd love to.
Can I just make a suggestion here to us on the board here? Has anybody thought about like the repercussions of what we'd have to deal with for the next few months moving into the winter season? If we continued this like up in the air, and then eventually they decide, okay, we haven't gotten anywhere, we're gonna go free, and now all of a sudden it's August and September, and we've gotta try and put in a new permit system and try and figure out a new deal with these, with whatever the payment's gonna be, the trails, and kind of re-budget, renegotiate, would it make sense to just do a 1-year agreement with the way it's been since 1988? Like if the inlet were to accept the 14%, to leave it as it is and just carry on for 1 more year so we don't put both towns in jeopardy? You know, like that's, I just want that to be understood, like what it may mean if this thing does break in a few months.
Are they going free? That's why I asked that question.
That's why we have a committee working with them.
If I may,
Question,
When
what does
we
the town
left,
have to lose?
we never-
86-14%. When have you lost money? When have you lost money? What does anybody have to lose here monetarily, economically, if you keep this in place? Everybody wins. Everybody.
nobody suggested leaving it at 14%. The last that we knew was they wanted to
That's not what we're
raise
talking
it.
about.
So that's where the whole
86-14%.
balance went out.
86-14%. When have you lost money?
We don't.
So where's the problem here? Everybody makes money. This is not taxpayer money. This is being paid by the people who snowmobile. The towns get richer by selling permits. And it goes up equally, 86% and 14%. If you sell more, each town gets more by that percentage. Where's the problem?
And there's 4 inlet board members, but like would 14%, would that, I know 17 came up, this came up, 3 came up, would it be considered? I mean,
The 17% was one council person
I know.
speaking his mind.
I realize that.
I cautioned the board at that meeting, if you stuck at the 50,000 or any other rate, you're gonna force us to go free. That was my statement at that May meeting, that you would force us to go
I
free.
don't think 50,000 was mentioned at that meeting.
Well, the
Yeah, we
flat
just-
fee was, a flat fee was.
No, it
Okay,
was
yeah, because
50,000.
50,000 was not mentioned at that
No,
meeting.
it was. We
Yeah.
received a letter in October before that
At that meeting when you guys were sitting here?
We had already received a
No,
letter
no.
stating that they proposed, yes, there was a letter.
Proposed.
There was a letter that we proposed that we are gonna send you 50,000. So that's when we all said we need to get together and discuss this. We got together in May and the board said, we will think about it and get back to you. And next thing I know, the $50,000 check is coming. That's how it happened.
So, in my eyes, we're not gonna get negotiations going. We're not gonna be able to solve this like this.
No, that was.
So, you know, I mean, I've asked you and Ben to meet and figure this out with Inlet. I don't know how we're gonna get back, do it in public like this. Yes,
Another
Dan?
meeting.
Dan?
Yes, I'm Dan Ribbon. Served on the board from 88 to 08. Back then, we negotiated this with the town of Inlet to make our whole area more attractive. They had their permits, we had our permits, we combined. You guys are tripping over dollars to pick up pennies here. What you're doing is because if our area isn't as attractive as it was before, people aren't gonna come here. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna lose much more in your share of sales tax by reduced sales than continuing this program. Plus committing, or animosity between the two towns. We've always worked together. The kids from both places go to school here. They always did with me. We were always friends. We always hung out with each other. But, you know, it's just crazy what you're doing. Why don't you just leave it alone without all this turmoil? Give them the 14% as originally negotiated. You guys keep the 86 and go from there. Because you don't sell something, you don't sell less for as much or more money. Just doesn't work that way in business. And so I feel very strongly about this. based upon, you know, past experiences and so on and so forth, working on 20 years of budgets and all that, that you should go right back to where you are, work out with the town inlet, give them the share. It's always worked before, without all this animosity, all this negative publicity from the snowmobilers. I go on social media and read these things from people, and they say, well, why should we pay $100? Well, because we aren't getting as much trail. Well, they're right there. But, you know, what's $100 to somebody that drives up here with a $15,000 machine and a $20,000 trailer, hauled by a $65,000 truck? That's $100 for the whole year. You go to ski some of these areas in New England, you're paying up to $200 a day per person for. But that's neither here nor there. I implore you guys to go back to the old situation, the old plan that worked for 40 years. And stop tripping over dollars to pick up pennies.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, one more quick one. You guys, I don't know how much of the social media you guys actually follow, but social media drives this world today. And the social media sites, you can look at all of them, there is negative out there everywhere now, and it is in everybody's mind. I said this in the last meeting, if we lose 10 to 15% of the sales of the permits, and if the inlet goes free happening with that, we are gonna lose 10 to 15%. And I don't care if you drop the money to $75, I don't care if you drop it to 50, they're not coming back here. They're gonna find other alternatives or get out of the sport altogether and find something else to do. We are creating, this board has, this whole situation has created a negative on the entire winter season, coming out of 2 crappy winter seasons on top of it. And now we're adding one. I don't care if we get 80 feet of snow next year. It is not gonna matter. These people have made up their minds. And the ski thing, they don't go skiing. I can tell you that 4% of the people, maybe 4 or 10% might ski. Other than that, they don't give a crap about any of it because they don't come when there's not snow or a reason to be here. They wait until there is. They're not coming here to go skiing. They are coming here.
That wasn't the plan.
Right, I understand.
So
It
leave
came up.
McCully out of it, all right?
All right, I'll leave it out. I'll
Thank
leave it
you.
out. So the answer is, and you're facing a situation right now, even with Macaulay, listening to that, you have to remember, we're looking at, is the ski lift gonna be operational? Is the mountain actually gonna be operational come December? You don't know that yet. You really don't. So now you're facing losing permit sales and possibly not having the mountain as any kind of backup to it. You have to renegotiate the contract now. 14%, 86%, leave it alone, renegotiate it next year.
So did you hear what they said already for this next year? They're going free.
They're only saying that because there's no, let me wait.
misunderstand that?
They are saying that because
asked the
right
question.
now, there is no agreement. If the agreement is in place tonight, right now, I guarantee you they will rescind the going free. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
Think about it. I'm sorry.
That's the
Okay.
answer we've been getting.
Everybody's had one chance to speak. I'd like a motion to close, we're gonna close the public comments right now. Can I have a motion to pay the audit of claims, please?
I'll make the motion.
What about an answer to Mark's
Second.
question about why?
Do you have a second?
Who did the first, Ben?
No answer?
Yep. All in
There's no
favor?
answer why the agreement fell through.
All in favor?
Because it never got negotiated.
Because it was asked for in bad faith. Bad faith.
Opposed?
Bad faith. It wasn't a negotiation, it was an attempt to cut our legs off.
No,
Point blank.
No, it wasn't, John. You know that.
It was not, John.
God damn it was too, or else you're all frickin' liars.
Do you realize what you're doing to the snowmobile community?
No, to our town.
The economic
You
impact is.
cannot do negotiations like this. It
I
doesn't
understand
work.
that, but you can fix
Do you
that by
agree,
just
Dan?
saying
Dan,
yes.
can we negotiate like this?
This would be difficult, for sure, no doubt.
For sure.
So you need to get inlet together.
I tried to set up.
We'd like to get Inlet and Old Forge together with the two people, Mike.
You guys want to listen to Dan for a minute?
No.
He makes a lot of sense.
What'd you say, Dan? Dan, I
We got
didn't.
a date to meet.
Set a meeting
Wait,
with the intent of fixing
wait.
it.
Did you hear what
Wait,
Dan just said?
no, I can't hear what he
Trying to.
said.
We
Dan,
can't
what-
hear Dan.
Dan, what did you say? I couldn't hear you.
I brought it up last time we came out about meeting two of you guys and two of us. See what kind of continuity we got, where we're going from there.
So meet again.
This is where we ended up.
Need to do it again.
The idea was, basically, Mike, as I told you, the first thing we'd have to do is, we wanted to settle up with our funds from previous seasons before we went forward.
Correct.
So we, thankfully, you gave us 37,000 and change, appreciate it. There's another 100,000 owed from this season that we already took care of.
Correct.
Settle up with that, and then we'll negotiate. Then you stand a chance to sell it to these people, the rest of the board, to go back to the 1486 and give it a run, and not spend all our energy fighting them. Otherwise, we're going backwards. Our trail network is
And that's where we left it.
reliant.
If I'm not mistaken, that's where it was left. But
I'm still at the point, I'd like to give it a shot. I don't know about you guys.
Me too.
and what did I tell you?
You sounded in favor of it. Again, I can't sell it to my board without the rest of the funds first. They're not gonna keep going.
And we
Use
never,
that money
there
now
was
for-
never anything ever said that we weren't gonna pay that debt. The only thing that got said is, once the money that was, whatever, the audit was done, but we never said we weren't gonna pay that debt, ever.
You did.
Well, last year, yeah, you did vote that you weren't. This year, they voted that you weren't gonna pay the 37,000, and then you changed your mind. Yeah.
Right, but I mean, this, now we're talking about this next payment.
No, I don't think it was
unanimous.
No.
So you guys can schedule another
It
meeting
wasn't
between the two and two, right?
Yes.
Another meeting can be scheduled.
Not paying was not unanimous.
Schedule another meeting.
Between the two,
Tom.
they can schedule another meeting.
If we get another meeting 2-2, do those guys have the ability to negotiate the
I
contract?
switched
No.
my vote.
No,
No, they do not have the
No.
ability.
nor do those
Want to
two.
move forward.
Nor do those two.
It's
But
a
that's what
board
we
decision
ran
by
into
both
this
boards.
At the last
They don't
meeting,
go-
John and I were there, like, as a third
Okay.
party to listen to it.
We're done,
and
we're
nothing
done. I'd
happened.
like a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Right.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Kind of,
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, second.
I'll second.
All in favor? Motion's adjourned, meeting's adjourned, thank you.
Mike, you're gonna make the meeting?